Hi guys, and welcome back to the sample round playthrough. This round is going to be super casual, and I'm just going to play the game as it works out. Today we have the orange team with Alexander, Long, Hane, and Hollow, and the blue team with Shadow, Rain, Anastasia, and Titan. Yeah, so we're going to start out first to see who gets momentum by flipping the momentum coin. That's not a good flip. Okay. Real flip. And the blue team will go, we'll decide whether or not they want to go first or second. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and set up the blue team on this side. Now, normally you would be placing your cards face down, but I'm going to place them face up just because I cannot surprise me. I'm also going to be playing them in this orientation where the blue team is here and the orange team is there, just to make my life a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Anastasia in the back. I am going to put Shadow, Rain, and Hollow up front. The reason I do that is because Hollow is going to be a lot of my main attack damage, and Anastasia has to stay in the back in order to heal. Rain has to be in the front to guard, and Shadow is our initiator. He's going to be the first one that we attack with. On this team, we're going to put Long, Alexander, and Titan in the front, and then we're going to put Hane in the back. Then we're going to go through and hand out all of our passives. In this case, Rain gets an armor passive, and Titan gets a 2 armor passive, and Alexander grants +2 buff to one of his compatriots. The blue team gets to decide if they want to go first or second, so they've opted to go first. Both teams have their mana pool, which is going to be 4 mana starting in a 2-point game, and we will begin. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take Shadow, and then we're going to attack with him. And Shadow's whole thing is that he does 5 damage, but he has no critical value, and he may not split his damage. So his damage cannot over-damage a hero. So if we attack Alexander, we will be essentially losing a damage, but if we attack Titan, all that damage will kind of go through. I think what I want to do, though, is I want to attack Alexander and lose one of those damage because we want to force the orange team over here to react. That's what we want out of a good initiation, is that the initiation forces a reaction from the defender. So we're going to come over here and we're going to start with 2 actions. And I think the first action that we're going to take is this guard, moving 2 of this damage. So that will be 2. And then 2 damage will be dealt to Titan, which removes this armor. So that's one of my actions. I think the second of my actions is going to be putting a Sword of Light onto Alexander. That makes him just a little bit more survivable, a tad more survivable, and gives him a bit more damage to work with. So cool. I like that. That feels good. Now coming over here, we see that Rain, you don't necessarily want to attack with because we want to leave him open to guard. Similar, Anastasia, we don't want her to attack because we want to leave her open to use her healing ability. So we'll come over to Hollow. Now, Hollow has 2 abilities, but you'll notice that we cannot use, you can't take 2 of the same type of action with 1 hero. So that means that we can't use Hollow to do a ability action and then another ability action. So if we're going to use one of his abilities, we can only use 1 of them. And I think the ability that we're going to use is this Poison Arrow, which will do a damage and a stun to a big stun to a little stun to an opponent. And I think that opponent will be Alexander, because Alexander still is a nice 8-point target. So we're going to do 1 damage, which gets rid of that armor, and then we're going to place a little stun on him. For my second action, for my second trick, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to leave it with one action and then move on to this team over here. Now this team is running pretty low on mana, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to make full advantage of this surprise attack that Hane has. So I'm going to go ahead and pull Hane up from the rear line to the front line. And then this stun is going to unstun at the end of the turn, kind of no matter what. So let's do this. Oh, and I forgot that when Shadow attacks, he gains a hidden token. So Shadow can't be targeted currently. Now Hane is going to attack Hollow. And he does 2 basic damage. And then he has a critical on a 3 and a 6. So if I can roll a 6, then I will activate both the 3 and the 6 critical. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Oh, because it's on camera, it decided to show off. And that's going to be 4 damage over there. And Hollow is now in critical condition, so he is in trouble. He needs a hero. He needs to do something over there. Cool. So coming over here, we are going to do something about that. And we're going to start by activating the Arc Shield on Rain, which allows us to guard 3 damage. This is going to mitigate 1 of that, so 2 damage is going to go onto Rain. Okay, Hollow is safe now. Oh, and I forgot, the stun token should have come off of Alexander that last turn. Okay, so Hollow can attack for 3 damage, which would be enough to mess up Alexander pretty good. It looks like Long has a heal left over there, and Titan potentially has another guard. So that team's a little tricky over there, but I don't know that they're going to get any mana anytime soon, and we still have the mana advantage over them. So I'm actually not going to activate this ability here just yet, and instead I'm going to attack for the 3 basic damage that Hollow does. And I'm going to place 2 of the damage there. And then the 3rd damage is going to come over here. So that means Alexander is at 4. And then I'm going to roll my critical on Long. And the reason I'm going to do that is, okay, so if I rolled my critical on Alexander, he would be at 5 damage. And with 5 damage, Titan can still heal him and bring him below critical. Although, if I do it on Long, that means that maybe somebody else can come and finish him off. Although, if I do that damage there, that means that anybody can come and finish him off with just 1 damage. So maybe it's smarter. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to roll that 3 plus critical over here and hope to put Alexander in a bad position. And so now you'll see that there's just a little bit of thinking ahead going here, and you kind of have to do just a little bit of thinking ahead. And if you do, that's really where the strategy kind of comes out. So I'm going to roll my critical here, and that's a 5. I'm not cheating. That was actually a 5 there. And so what that means is that we're going to do a total of 5 damage on Alexander. And of that, this turn, 3 of that damage was dealt this turn. So that is 1 action that we're taking with blue team. And blue team's actually still, no, sorry, it was 2 actions because 1 action was Rain during the guard and the second was Hollow. So we've done 2 actions with the blue team. Blue team is going to do their end of turn phase, which means that this hidden token is going to come off, and I may have tracked that a little wrong, but it didn't really play into effect, so I think it's all good. You get the gist. So we're going to come back over to the orange team. So now the orange team has to deal with their 8-pointer who's about to die. And if you look here, we can heal for 1 to an ally, which would be Alexander. But if we did that, he would still be at in critical condition with 4 damage on him. So the only option that we have to do is to use the second guarding ability on Titan, which is a ×2 ability to move 2 of that damage over. So because 3 was dealt, we can take 2 of that 3 that was dealt last turn and move it over to Titan. And that's 1 action. So now we can take another action, and I think what makes sense is to go ahead and attack. And we're going to do an attack with Alexander, who used that Sword of Light. So he's actually dealing 3 damage. And we're going to take Alexander and we're going to deal 3 damage to the orange team. Okay, so, alright fam. There are 2 different ways to think about this. One way to think about this is to do 1/2 damage on Hollow, and then another damage somewhere else, say for example on Shadow, or at this point even Rain might be a good choice. And then roll the critical here and hope that that critical succeeds. Or we can be safe and roll all the damage over here and then just attempt to over damage on Hollow. And then hopefully that 2 heal would be negated. So what is our best strategy? Oh, and the other way to do it would be to put the 3 damage here and kind of secure the kill on Rain, because Rain is actually worth more points than Hollow. And since Hollow attacked already, it's Rain that we're worried about, not Hollow. That's another way to do it. And then the last thing to consider is that Anastasia will negate 2 damage, and this team has at most 1 damage, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. So I can get maybe another 4 damage out of this team. So I actually have enough damage to kill more than 1 person. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1 damage to Hollow, and then 2 damage to Rain, and then I'm going to roll my critical on Rain, hoping to get a 3+. That's what I want to see. I want to see a 3+ on Rain. That is not a 3+. We're doing so good. We're doing so good with the criticals, but now we finally failed. Okay, so seeing as how we are failures, that is how it's going to stand, and we have taken 2 actions with the blue team. So now we're going to move over to the with the orange team. So now we're going to move over to the blue team. And so now Anastasia doesn't have to attack yet, but Rain has used his guard ability, so he's going to attack. And he's going to do the obvious thing, which is do 1 damage to Alexander. And just for funsies, he's going to roll his critical value, which he gets. Now the criticals want to come out. Of course they do. Of course the criticals want to come out now. That's going to do 5 damage to Alexander. In addition to that, Anastasia could do something. She could stun someone, or she could heal someone, or she could attack. But she is actually... yeah, she's going to wait. We're gonna hold off with her. Cool. So now we come back to the orange team's turn. And the orange team can't do anything with Alexander because he's already tapped out. He's used everything. And so the only 2 characters that we have left to operate with are Titan and Long. So we are going to have Titan attack Rain for 1 damage, putting him at 3, 4, 5, which puts him in the critical condition. And we're going to try to get that 5+ for that sweet, sweet critical damage. A 1. A 1 is not a 5, fam. A 1 is not a 5. Alright, cool. So, now that we continue to be failures at life, we are actually going to pass. At this point, Alexander comes off the board. This goes back into my hand, so that goes back into my hand there. And then 1 mana gets added to the mana pool of the blue team. Alright. Coming down close, coming down to the wire. Almost done with the round. So back over to the blue team. The blue team has Rain in critical condition, and so we have to do something about that. So we're going to heal him for 1. And that brings him back above critical condition. Cool. And I think that this round has basically played itself out. If Titan had gotten that critical, it would be a little bit different, but you'll see. Alright, so Anastasia has done that action. She does not want to do a second action, so we'll move on to this team. This team, because they did not get the extra mana from the elimination, Long is just going to go ahead and attack. And then Long is going to do 1 damage to Rain, 1 damage to Hollow, and he is going to roll a sweet, sweet 4+ critical. Bam! It's a 1, in case you can't tell. So no criticals will be rolled, and so Titan, the orange team, is having a bad day in that regard. So sometimes criticals just don't go in your, in the way that you want them to, and that's just kind of the game. You can't rely on them. What you can rely on is some very good control of their mana usage by the blue team, and so the blue team can heal up Anastasia, can heal up Rain. And from this point, there's no reason to go further. Anastasia can do 1 more point of damage over here. That 1 point of damage can't kill anyone, so you can't secure any more mana on this side from that side of the board. This side cannot take any more actions, and Anastasia's team, the blue team, might as well save that 1 mana for the next round, the next engagement. So at this point, you would add up all the dominance values. So we have 11, 19, 26 to 10, 18, 26 wins. Blue team is going to get 1 victory point, and the orange team is going to feel bad about themselves. And that is 1 round of Ark World. If you like this, the Kickstarter is still up. You can watch the actual rules video to learn the rules of the game. Otherwise, like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. Support us on Kickstarter, and we hope to see you soon. As always, I am Orion. Until next time, everybody, peace. I'm out.